Good morning. It is Saturday, March 20th. I'm Emily Turner. Let's start with a quick check of our weather with meteorologist Darren Peck. A warm up ahead. New this morning, a 7.0 earthquake struck off the coast of Japan just a few hours ago. It was just after 6 p.m. local time. Buildings in Tokyo were rattled and a tsunami advisory was issued. The USGS says the epicenter was around 16 miles off the coast of the Miyagi Prefecture in the country's northeast. So far, though, there are no immediate reports of damage. Another disturbing attack on an elderly Asian American woman in the Bay Area. The latest incident caught on camera in Daly City on Thursday. A 76-year-old woman you see here is on a sidewalk in Sierra Vista Avenue when she's rushed, dragged into the street, and robbed. After the attacker leaves, she then gets up and frantically waves her arms for help. Just a few days earlier than that, a similar assault happened on Market Street in San Francisco. Sheriff Paul Miyamoto of San Francisco, one of the few Asian American sheriffs in the country, spoke out on the subject for the first time.
During the pandemic, anti-Asian sentiment in San Francisco and across the country has risen, from name-calling to harassment to violent assaults with deadly consequences. These hate crimes threaten all Asians and poison our community.
The sheriff went on to say he has personally observed and experienced anti-Asian bigotry, which gave him motivation to pursue a career in public safety. President Biden met with leaders of Georgia's Asian American community yesterday in the aftermath of the deadly shooting rampage, which left 8 people dead, 6 of them of Asian descent. CBS's Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
After meeting with Asian American leaders in Atlanta, President Biden urged Congress to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act.
Too many Asian Americans have been walking up and down the streets and worrying, waking up each morning the past year feeling their safety and the safety of their loved ones are at stake.
The legislation would speed up the federal government's response to the increase in hate crimes directed at Asian Americans.
The Asian community is scared. We are living in terror. We have been for the past year at least.
The president and vice president came to the city to console a grieving community after this week's rampage that killed 8 people at 3 Atlanta area spas.
Each one of them we mourn. Their families are left with broken hearts and unanswered questions.
All of the victims, 6 of them women of Asian descent, have now been publicly identified. A friend remembers an owner of one of the spas.
She was a great person, great mother. She was loved. She'll be missed terribly.
Authorities investigating the shootings say it's still too early to determine whether hate motivated the suspect, Robert Aaron Long.
It's deeply disturbing that law enforcement at this time is downplaying the fact that it could be racially motivated.
A report by the group Stop AAPI Hate finds that the U.S. has seen nearly 3,800 hate incidents targeting Asian Americans over the last year. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
KPIX5 is focusing on crimes against Asian Americans in a half-hour special tomorrow. Join Kenny Choi and Elizabeth Cook Sunday at 6:30 for Asians Under Attack. The Bay Area reacts. Governor Gavin Newsom is laying out a timeline now for when most Californians can get the coronavirus vaccine. It would end the current tiered system, which determines eligibility based on age, occupation, and underlying risk factors. The governor expects that within the next 5.5 weeks, there will be enough supply for any resident over the age of 16 who wants to get one. That includes an additional 32 million people statewide, on top of the 4 to 6 million with underlying health issues who just became eligible this week. Some local leaders, though, question whether California's vaccine supply will actually be able to keep up with the growing demand as the governor envisions. In fact, this week, Santa Clara County alone had to reschedule more than 8,000 second doses because of those supply shortages. Governor Newsom also saying that some counties could move into a new green reopening tier sooner than expected. In that least restrictive tier, many rules could be dropped altogether. Now, this is where the Bay Area stands right now. All of it is red, with the exception of San Mateo County. That opened up this week. That's in the orange tier. Several other Bay Area counties, though, are expected to turn orange as early as this coming week. And as classrooms reopen across the Bay Area, the CDC is relaxing its safety guidelines for schools. Under the new rules, students in elementary schools can sit 3 feet apart in class rather than 6 feet apart if they're wearing masks. Same goes for middle and high schoolers, except in communities where transmission is high. This, of course, paves the way to allow for more in-person instruction. 6 feet of distance, though, is still recommended for common areas like lobbies, auditoriums, and during activities like band or sports practices. Mount Diablo High School in Concord opened its football season at home last night. For many on the team, they doubted that this night would ever come. With the pandemic taking a toll on the players, the coach wondered how many of his kids would be able to play ball. Andrea Nakano has their story of perseverance and hope. Well, March Madness is here. The tournament kicked off yesterday, and with it, though, a firestorm of criticism against the NCAA. One of Stanford's coaches posted these 2 pictures on Instagram. One of them shows the men's weight room. That's the one on top. The other is the women's, which is the picture below that. It's pretty sparse. The NCAA responded, saying there just wasn't enough space. And that's when one of the Oregon Ducks players posted a video that you see here showing what looked like plenty of extra space. A lot of NBA and now WNBA stars are calling out the issue, including Golden State Warriors Steph Curry. He retweeted the viral video and tagged the NCAA and added, quote, "Wow, come on now." Time now is 6:10. Still ahead on KPIX5 and streaming on CBSN Bay Area. An investigation and a recall after thousands of reports of pets getting sick. What you need to know if you've bought a flea collar recently. Plus, a wedding day to remember, how nerves turned into a nightmare for a couple in Tahoe, and the amazing plunge one man took. Well, an unlucky moment caught on camera during one couple's wedding day in Lake Tahoe. The groom dropped the bride's wedding ring into the lake. Can you imagine? As Anna Giles reports, the couple then launched a mission impossible to get it back. Oh, man, can you imagine? Good thing they got it back. The couple is from Vancouver, Washington, and say that they travel to Lake Tahoe frequently. They say the next time they go out on that pier, they will be wearing their rings. At 42-degree water, Darren, I can't imagine scuba diving in that. Dry suit or no?
How about stepping out into that? I think to go from 62, which is kind of almost 60, to 68, which is kind of almost 70, from one day to the next, you can see which of the 2 days this weekend will be the better one to get outside, Emily.
Darren, I think you and I had the same math teacher. After more than a year, AMC, the nation's largest movie theater chain, opened its doors to customers yesterday. The company says 98% of its locations reopened with strict protocols in place. But movie night, it looks a whole lot different in 2021. This is the Tower Theater in Sacramento, where there are safety protocols like contactless tickets, seat buffering technology for social distancing. Boy, that's a 2020 thing if I've ever heard it. And those still hesitant can watch their favorite movie in a private screening room for $99 to $150. In the wake of the attacks on Asians in the Bay Area, there are signs communities are now coming together. A group which offers a chaperone service to seniors in Oakland Chinatown says they've seen a big increase in the number of volunteers. KPIX5's Da Lin has the story. All volunteers have to provide a recent negative COVID test result before they can volunteer for their shift. Happening today, community groups in Daly City will hold a rally to call for the end to acts of racism against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. That event begins at noon in the Rose Garden outside City Hall. It's at Edgeworth Avenue and 91st Street. A similar demonstration is happening today in San Francisco. That's happening at noon at Portsmouth Square. And a reminder, KPIX5 is focusing on crime against Asian Americans in our half-hour special tomorrow. Join Kenny Choi and Elizabeth Cook Sunday at 6:30 for Asians Under Attack. The Bay Area reacts. California lawmakers are considering setting up cameras that can catch drivers speeding in school zones. So get ready. A state senator who used to be a teacher in Southern California is introducing that bill. It authorizes local governments to install cameras that can capture video of speeding drivers, much like the red light cameras. Offenders would get a ticket in the mail, and the fines won't be a flat rate. Instead, they would be based on a driver's ability to pay. Children in the Tri-Valley are having a blast as they learn to code, thanks to a community program started by a Dublin mother and son duo. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's Bay Area Jefferson Award winners. Some students also partner up for contests. Alex helped lead a cybersecurity team that won second place in the Cal Poly Cyber Innovation Competition 2 years ago. Pretty impressive. And if you'd like to nominate someone for a Bay Area Jefferson Award, the form is on our website, kpix.com/hero. We'll be right back.